Incredible flavours, even better stories. One pour, 10 minutes. Aussie bourbon lovers sharing bourbon with Australia. So, what are we having?
We're having an Old Forester.
1910.
Yes.
Can you remember, we did the tour about how long ago? In Louisville, Kentucky, Main Street of Louisville.
Not quite 12 months, maybe 10 months ago.
Can you remember what 1910 is?
No.
Nah, it's delicious is what it is.
I remember I liked it because I got a bottle.
It is double oaked. So in the tradition of the fire that happened in October in 1910,
Yeah.
October 22nd, 1910, there was a fire on the bottling line and they had to take the whiskey that was in the original barrels and put it into a second barrel. And they called it Old Fine Whiskey or something like that.
That's what became the 1910 one.
They called it 1910. So it's called
1910. They've got a
20. They all,
20,
all their, Old Foresters whiskies are all.
And then they made us mix them together.
Oh, yeah, there's a thing where you mix a 1920 with a 1910 to make a 1915.
Yeah. It was fun.
Anyway.
Let's see how this one goes.
Old Forester. So Old Forester is the oldest, like the first ever bottled bourbon. Before that, it was served in barrels and stuff. And then,
and they were the first glass bottles, right?
Yeah. George Garvin Brown, who Brown-Forman is named for.
Yeah.
Or, was the first, person involved in that. Does this thing.
And they named it Old Forester after, correct me if I'm wrong, the doctor that distributed it as medically, because otherwise they would have had to shut up shop.
Because of the prohibition.
Yeah, and so it was, Forester was his name, and then the way his name is spelt is different to the way it's spelt on the bottle.
It had two R's, and then he died, and out of respect, they removed one of the R's.
They removed one of the R's.
What?
I know.
People show respect in different ways.
I just love the stories. All these stories come from one delicious glass of bourbon.
You like to drink your whiskey with a sphere of ice, and I like to drink it neat. And I've actually got an Old Forester glass from that day we did the tour. Oh, yeah. We're such nerds, aren't we? But that's what we love
great
doing.
Tourists.
Great bourbon tourists.
Yes.
So there's a few things that have happened since that fateful day in 1910. Brown-Forman now have lots and lots of whiskey labels kind of under them, and one of them is Woodford Reserve, and the Woodford Reserve double oaked product. And I actually don't know which one came first, but I love Woodford Reserve double oaked.
Yeah.
And in Australia, it's really easy to get.
Yeah, that's true.
Most Dan Murphys will have. Oh, and lots of other bottlers.
How difficult is Old Forester to get?
Well, much harder to get. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realise that.
And this particular, one is the bottle price way more expensive, maybe more than 2 times as much. Yeah. So closer to 220, 250 Aussie for a 1910 Old Forester.
Much easier to come by a Woodford.
Really easy to come by a Woodford double oaked.
But I really do like a Woodford, but Old Forester is up there with my favourites.
And what are you getting flavour wise? We're going to get this wrong because we don't know what we're talking about. But what are you getting flavour wise?
I get on the maple kind of. It's that. I think that's why I like it. It's kind of got that sweet element to it, like maple and honey and vanilla. It's it's going to be yum, and then it is yum.
Brown, sugary.
Yeah, the brown sugar.
And it opens up, I reckon, as well with in particular with ice. But even if you leave it open on the, just uncovered for a while, I find.
Yeah, I just think an ice cube or sphere in this case brings out lots of the flavours.
Yep.
It's yum. And it doesn't finish with too much of a bite. It has that nice, just fills your mouth with yummy deliciousness.
Can you remind me, we went to Old Forester. It's on the main street of Louisville, or the main, I don't know if that's the main street or not, but that main drag, if you've ever been to Louisville, Kentucky, there's a main drag that's got lots of distilleries on it. Michter's is on there.
Angel's Envy's there.
Yeah, down the other end, you're right. Peerless is just around the corner. There's
lots of great bourbon places.
Unreal.
Yeah.
What was your favourite thing about the Old Forester Distillery Tour?
I loved seeing they showed you how the barrels were made, and you got to actually see them. I'm going to get this wrong. You got to see them fire, not toasted. When they burn it, because toasted's when they heat it, but when they char. That's the word I'm looking for. When they charred it, we actually got to do that.
You get to push the green button.
Push the button, and fire goes everywhere, and and then that was fun. I liked that.
I thought you were going to say something else.
yes, the other favourite part of the tour was the delicious chocolate that came with it. It's my favourite chocolate.
So when
it's like a s'more that goes deliciously well with this particular bourbon. And Old Forester get some local sweet manufacturer to make it for them, and it's amazing. It's like marshmallow and chocolate, but it's thin and it's chewy.
Caramel.
And there's some caramel in
Yep.
there, and it brings out lots of the flavour in this. You can tell I like the chocolate just as much.
Do you
as
think that the
bourbon.
chocolate is better than the bourbon from Old Forester?
No, but the chocolate makes the better bourbon.
Yeah. And so,
Makes the bourbon better.
can you remember what they're called? I can't remember what they're called.
No, you can get them in the Old Forester shop, but they go deliciously well.
They're so good that I was back in Louisville after that trip.
And he had strict instructions to get me another bag of the chocolates.
2 packets of their chocolates had to come back to Melbourne. So there's a big lineup of Old Forester bourbons, and they've got one called the Statesman as well, which is actually from the Kingsman. You know, they drank it in the Kingsman, and it's kind of a bit more entry level than some of these other ones. It's okay. I feel like, and bourbon lovers are going to hate me for saying it's rougher. Like, it's not as smooth. Like, it's not as pleasant a drinking experience to me. But then once you get into their other core range, 1870, 1910, 1920, I'm looking up the ones that I've got on the shelf over there. But those ones are all bangers, and they've kind of go through. You go the original batch, the full proof, this one that's double barreled, and then the 1920 is called Prohibition style, and it's actually at the proof that that they would have served during Prohibition. So like to make it medicinal, it's like the medicine.
Yeah, well, it had to be medicinal so that they could get the doctor to sign off on letting you drink it.
That's exactly it. What do you reckon makes this particular 1910 special? What makes it different and unique and worth having a crack at?
I like the fact that it's, and this is probably not the correct language to use, but it's got that really delicious bourbon, heat and kick to it but it's still sweet. It's not too easy drinking. Some of the ones I like are really easy drinking ones. But this one is it's an easy drinking one that tastes rich like the others.
And I think that as you have a few mouthfuls of it, and some people, like in Australia in particular, Australian whiskies, they call it an oily characteristic that coats your mouth. It feels a little bit like you've had a chewy caramel.
Yeah.
That feeling that what coats your mouth is like that sweet
that
carameliness.
aftertaste. Some taste delicious but leave a really weird or strong aftertaste. This, you have a sip and the aftertaste is delicious.
I am
just going to keep sipping.
Yeah, just keep sipping. The best thing about the Old Foresters to me is that they consistently have this. People who know about bourbon are going to think I'm an idiot, but butterscotch-y flavours.
Yeah.
It's
like a dessert. If I want to finish the night off with a dessert feeling bourbon, Old Forester's what I go to.
Bit of creme brulee goodness.
Yeah.
But almost butteriness or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the creme brulee is probably it definitely feels like a dessert. It's not, sometimes you have a nightcap that's, got a bit of a kick in it. Whereas this, if I'm finished dinner and sitting by the fire, feel like a dessert, I'll go for an Old Forester.
So it's actually quite hard to get what in the States would be considered the core range of Old Forester. But here you can get Statesman relatively easily, is my experience.
Yeah.
But the other bottles are hard to get. So if you can get your hands on them, if you jump online, you'll be able to find places you can buy it and get it shipped to you.
Yeah. But if you get your hands on one, enjoy it because they're delicious.
They're bangers. And they come in bursts. They seem to come in bursts. So you can get a few for a bit and then they'll disappear and then they'll come back.
And if you're lucky enough to go to Louisville, I'd definitely recommend an Old Forester tour and pick me up some chocolate and one of their T-shirts while you're there.
You love the T-shirt as well.
Yeah. I'm not normally a, T-shirt, promotional T-shirt person. But for whatever
What
reason,
does the T-shirt say?
it just says never gets old. I like that it says that.
So good.
Yeah, it's great. But it's best fabric and the best fit. And so
We're not selling the T-shirts.
No,
it's a bourbon.
but I like it. I like it because it says that. But I actually like the T-shirt because sometimes you get these promotional T-shirts and they're not that great. But anyway, the bourbon is great. The chocolate is great. I also like the T-shirts. But definitely, if you manage to get your hands on a bottle of Old Forester, enjoy it because it's delicious.
Never gets old. Cheers. Thanks for listening. Make sure you're connected with us on TikTok, Instagram and YouTube, and stay connected with us by clicking subscribe on your favourite podcast app.